What went through your head before making this insane hero call?
When he overbet on the turn, I felt like if I call the turn, I'm probably just also gonna call the river.
It's one of the spots, if you're right, you're genius, and if you're wrong, you look like a big idiot. Today we have a very interesting story to share, and especially if you want to make it as a poker player, this might be super valuable to you. Why? Not only did Max Neugebauer, my today's guest, won the most recent WSOP Europe Main Event, but he also recently kind of made it as a professional poker player. I mean, he made it, not kind of. And the reason why I think this is super valuable for many of you is because I always advise people to learn from someone who recently made it, who is maybe a few steps ahead of you. I wouldn't necessarily advise to try to learn from Daniel Negreanu or even myself too much, because we have 10 years ahead, 15 years ahead. And I think learning from poker players who made it as a professional poker player recently or within the first couple of years is super valuable. And you should also take advice from them because they learn poker in a different way. Someone like Daniel Negreanu, the way he made it poker is completely different than me. And me is completely different than you. I learned poker or made it like 10 years ago. Right? So I'm not saying there's nothing to learn from Daniel Negreanu. Don't get me wrong. Don't roast me. But you should put things into perspective. He had different battles and challenges. I had different battles and challenges. We didn't have so many of the solvers. So I'm always a big fan of learning a little bit from everyone, the most valuable lessons. Again, you can certainly learn a lot from those legends, but from someone who recently made it, this might be someone you can resonate better with in the age of social media, with all these solvers, with all these tools. And he also has a lot to say when it comes to how you can break through from this GTO brainwashed, break even low stakes, mid stakes grinding. A lot of very practical advice. I really enjoyed this episode. I was very often quite silent. He had a lot to share, a lot to talk about, which I really appreciated. So without further ado, let's jump right into the podcast. Hello, Max. Welcome and congratulations. A World Series of Poker Europe champion. Correct me if I'm wrong. Today, visiting me here today.
You're right. Thank you so much for having me.
So that's a boring ass question to ask. How does it feel? I think we all kind of have an anticipation how it feels. I'm more interested because the last hand, you made a pretty sick call in the heads up, right? What went through your head before making this insane hero call?
Well, So firstly, I felt like he was trying to push me around a little bit. So I was not scared of him really under bluffing a lot of spots.
Yeah.
Then when he overbet on the turn, I felt like if I call the turn, I'm probably just also gonna call the river. I don't think it's a very good hand to just call turn and then fold river.
Yeah.
So I kind of made my decision on the turn. I also, it's quite funny because I used to only play online and I'm not very good with live reads. And this was probably the first tournament where I really focused on live reads. And I had so many live reads throughout this run. I actually had a pretty big live read on him as well. I cannot really explain it, but I played for 4 days with him. Prior to that hand, and I could just notice, like, for some reason he was way more relaxed when he was bluffing. You could look back on all the hands. When he actually had value, he looked very stiff. He didn't move a lot. He didn't like really act too much. But then in this hand, he was bluffing and he was like acting kind of a bit too confident almost. Mm-hmm. So kind of this reversed hell that I had on him. And then also I just felt like I think he approaches poker a lot differently than I do, for example, or than like a lot of people that I talk strategy with do. And I think it's very easy with very wide ranges. Just over bluff on an ace to feel like, oh, I have all the ace-x, he doesn't really have the ace-x, and so I felt like on the turn it's very easy for him to overbluff. I mean, seeing the combo draw, I actually don't feel too confident about the read. If I would see some zero equity hand, I would obviously feel way more comfortable about the read. And there was also one third thing. Exactly, he was on the previous hand. It was a pretty different spot, but he had king queen high when he isolated me in the heads up. He had king queen on ace 10x, and he didn't see bet his king queen. And I think that already gave me a hint that he might actually not see bet all his ace-x and check some ace-x on the flop. So I discounted some of the ace-x on the flop. I just thought he could be very aggressive on the turn, and he was not the kind of player to give up rivers. So yeah, I kind of made my decision on the turn. I had a little live read, and yeah, that's how it went.
It's one of the spots. If you're right, you're genius, and if you're wrong, you look like a big idiot.
Yeah,
Does ever
that's why I
ever
tanked.
cross your mind? That's why you tanked?
That's why I tanked. I felt like okay. I was pretty sure I'm gonna call. I mean, I kind of made my decision on the turn, to be
Yeah.
honest. But especially if I see this river, I was sitting there and just thinking, okay, I'm just gonna think a little bit more. Maybe I get some more live reads on him that make me feel more confident. But I was pretty sure I'm gonna call like once he moved all in, and yeah, just tanked a little bit so it wouldn't look ridiculously stupid to call on the river there.
I mean, honestly, once you know this and you kind of anticipate and he bets and you snap call him, that's would have been another level, right?
That would have been so sick. But on the river, I got some more live reads, and yeah,
Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
I don't know. I was also. I don't think I could repeat the performance that I brought on that day. It was especially like those long live tournaments. You don't sleep too much. I
Yeah.
only slept 5 hours a day because I always tried to watch the stream after playing, and yeah, I felt like I was really in the zone. I made some other plays that I think were really nice, and I was just super sharp and super focused on everything. Had so much energy and so much focus that yeah, I could just pick up on stuff that usually I wouldn't really notice.
Yeah, I mean, you. I'm saying it would be epic for content, but in these days, as a poker player, you have to keep in mind that it's still competitive, right? What? How does it help you? Yeah, you have a nice clip, but taking your time, maybe you gather some
And
extra information, and then you can still make your decision, right?
it would be really nice content, but
Yeah,
there's not much EV in snap calling, and I think I took my time on every hand in every spot,
yeah,
and yeah, I was really proud of my patience on that day as well.
yeah,
Very often I already had a very strong idea of what I'm gonna do,
yeah,
but I always took my time. I always thought it through, and once or twice I actually changed my mind.
yeah. You will be surprised how many poker players have that league of snap acting,
Yeah, it's especially, I mean, online if you play a
especially
lot of,
online for sure. Especially online, yeah.
it really happens to me a lot as well, especially on a Sunday when you have all the tables open and just so much action. But live, I think you really should take your time. There's no reason to hurry.
Yeah. Why does it happen to you? Why do you think in those instances when you snap act, why do you snap act or snap decide and not take the time? If you have time. Of course, there are instances when you multi-table, you don't have a lot of time. But when you technically have a lot of time, why do you snap act?
I mean, really live, it doesn't happen to me anymore.
Yeah, just online, mostly online, right?
And online, it's mostly because I'm probably playing a few too many tables.
Does it ever happen to you if, regardless of the amount of table you have time, but then you still snap act for whatever reason? Or do you think it's solely because of playing too many tables?
Uh, Not anymore.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I do remember my first coach. He was super tilted about me just snapping everything, and
Yeah,
he was telling me, "Bro, like take your time. You have so
yeah,
much time, and you just snap act in two
yeah,
seconds. You don't even think about anything. You
yeah,
just like play with your guts."
yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much uh, how I started playing, I guess.
And I think a lot of poker players actually underestimating how hurtful that is for their win rate to snap act. And
Yeah,
I think, at least from my experience working with my students, it always comes from avoiding this uncomfortable situation of not knowing what to do. Because if you snap act, you always have this justification. Well, I decided quickly, I didn't have time, right? So you always have this excuse of not admitting that you just didn't know better. And then you just always snap act instead of just admitting, hey, I didn't know better, right? But because if you snap act, you can't think it through, right? It's the perfect excuse.
Yeah, you really avoid that moment. But I think once you get more mature and once you get more experience in poker, it's something you need to get rid of.
Absolutely, yeah. Quick reminder here, don't forget, we have a free 5-day poker course, and I've specially designed this course to help you make your first $1,000 in poker, to steadily and slowly build up your bankroll, to learn poker the proper way with proper bankroll management, understanding variance, concepts about pre-flop, post-flop, ICM, mindset, how to play final tables. It's actually quite stacked for a free course. So sign up below, no risk, no excuses. It doesn't cost you a penny, and then you can start crushing in poker. How old are you?
26.
When did you start playing poker? Maybe now also for the audience and everyone following here this channel to get to know you better. It's not like, let's face the truth, you're not Phil Hellmuth, you're not Ivy. You also, from what I've discovered, you also had a different career before getting into poker. Maybe we can also talk a little bit about that, how that has helped you to bring that into poker and becoming a good poker player with a good mindset. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
The very first time I played poker, that was just with friends at home. I was probably 13, 14. We just played some heads up, and I still remember I didn't really understand the rules.
Yeah.
And I didn't know back then that if you have a pocket pair, that it actually counts as a pair. So in my head, pocket aces was a super shit hand because I didn't know that it's a made hand already.
Yeah.
And I remember we played heads up and I had pocket aces, and I just like, whatever, I limped and checked it down because I didn't think I had any hand. And I thought I lost in the end because I didn't know that actually it's aces and it counts as a pair. So that was the very first time I played. Then I probably didn't really play for like 5 years or so. And when I was 19, I had a friend who was already playing poker professionally at the time. I mean, semi-professionally. It was back then we would think that he played professionally, but it was not really professional, I would say. Looking back at it now. And yeah, he was just telling me, Max, you're gonna love this game. You have to start playing it, and I know you'll be super good at it, and it will be a lot of fun for you. So I started playing. That was the first time that I took it a little bit more serious, but looking back again, it was kind of a joke. What we thought is actually taking poker serious. We just played once in a while. We talked about some hands, but there was no studying involved. There was no content. Back then also, I think that was 2016. Obviously, there was a lot less content out there in general, but
the Tournament Masterclass was still around. Was already around. We launched it in 2016.
I bought it the year after. I bought it in 2017. Actually, that was the first big purchase I made from. I think I won like 5K online and invested 20% of my net worth at the time into the Tournament Masterclass because I thought I need to improve. And I saw my friend who was actually super talented, but he wasn't super passionate about the game. He also quit playing shortly after because he got some new stuff, and I think he's very successful in the things he's gonna do, but he didn't really want to commit to poker. Yeah, so actually I think in 2017 that was the first thing for me really taking it a bit more serious. I got the Tournament Masterclass. I, for the first time, joined the study group, did all that stuff, and then
he's following the advice, and now he's a champion. I always tell him, join study groups, be active in groups.
I was trying to be active, but my mindset was really bad at the time still, and I think I lost all the money back that I have won up to that point, and I was playing way too high. I was just very delusional about everything. I think
Do you think
I
that
lost.
5K cash was maybe a bit of a,
It wasn't one cache, it was like a few caches in a row.
but maybe the early success? I mean, when like you listening to you, I would say you belong more to the ones that have success rather early on than the ones that grind for a year or 2 years until they have their first 4-digit scores.
I
So,
mean, I guess so, but I think most of the players that actually, especially in tournaments, that make it in the end, I think almost everybody just ran super hot in the beginning. It's, I think it's super crucial for,
but if they learn the lesson,
yeah, of course, they need to learn from it and improve and obviously work very hard on the games. But in general, if I would not have won 5K, I think I would have never purchased the masterclass. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't have had the funds
yeah,
to do so, and also I wouldn't have had the motivation to actually improve. And then, whatever, at the time I was still, so 2017, I was still, my plan was still to study in, I wanted to be a physiotherapist. Also, I can just hear my girlfriend just came home. Whatever.
I couldn't. It's all
Um,
good.
yeah, so I still wanted to study at the time. Then with the swings, my mindset was really bad. So I think I stopped again for like 1, 2 years. It was always on off. I had an upswing, I played a bit more. At the downswing, I played less. It was really the worst that you could do. Basically, I think I lost probably like 2, 3 years super unnecessarily. And then it was kind of going up and down. I was probably a slight winner in the end. And then Corona came, and that was actually the first time when I watched the entire course from Raise Your Edge, and I really got super started to engage a lot more and started to study every day. I think what I did was I played Friday, Saturday, Sunday always, and
That's
Monday
smart.
because, and then all the other days I always studied. I think I had no days off. I was just super passionate at the time, and I felt like I didn't really need any time off because I would, even my days off, I would just think about poker. So I was just studying
You got
and
obsessive.
super obsessive for the whole Corona time. It's actually super nice because we had a study group and all the other, I mean, two other members of the study group, we all have the Corona lockdowns in our memory as kind of a very positive time because we were all studying. We're like meeting a few times a week on the in the study group. We're talking. We had super nice time. Everybody was playing a lot of poker. We're all super happy, and I really didn't have this loneliness from the Corona lockdowns. So
Yeah.
I think it was a very good time to really focus on poker and just grind it. And again, I was very fortunate to bink something early on, and then I think I did probably a bankroll of 2K at the time. And the first weekend, I think I won 12K, and then the next week 3K, and then I remember there was like, I think it must have been 7 or 8 months of me just straight losing because I still, I think actually my skill wasn't that bad, but my mindset just wasn't there yet. And I think, especially in tournaments, mindset is so much more important than your actual skill. I feel like if you look at the very best players, you and like really all the best players, I feel like rarely the people that have the best like poker skills, very rarely they actually make the most like money or at least the most EV. But I feel like always the people that have the best mindset, usually they make the most EV and also have way better longevity. There's so many of those things. And then I actually got my first very serious coach in 2020. I was going pretty bad. His name is Manuel Fritz. I think it was very nice. I don't know if you know him. He helped me a lot as well, mindset wise. I think that was almost bigger than the poker side.
Yeah.
I think also with the content, for example, that you put out, I think there's actually I just now before the podcast, I was actually going back to the tournament masterclass, watching some videos, and I wasn't on there for for quite some time. And I watched some videos, and it was very funny because you put the poker content, and towards the end and towards the beginning, or sometimes in the middle, you put some mindset advice in. Actually, I think the mindset advice might be even more valuable than the poker advice, because I really think that mindset in MTTs is everything, and what
Yeah.
you can, especially nowadays where there's so much poker content out there, that you really have a lot of options to improve, but there's not, compared to all the poker content, there's not as much mindset content. So I think you do it a lot, and you put a lot of mindset stuff out there, and I really think it's way more important to focus on the mindset part than the skill part. Even nowadays, almost like 1/3 of my poker related study time is actually for mindset, and I have a mindset coach. Sometimes I write some diaries. Yeah, I just try to really put a lot of emphasis on mindset, and I would advise everybody to do so.
So it's with a mindset coach, do you just talk through things, or is it something similar to enroll with his style of hypnotherapy, or what is it that you, apart from the diary, like in general, like what are the practical? Because I can already hear the viewers and the followers in the comments
the-
maybe thinking, yeah, but what? Because for a lot of people, mindset is very generic, right? And I think they always appreciate some practical tips. I have practical tips to share. Some others have practical tips to share. And I always say, don't see anyone you follow, whether it's me or someone else. Don't try to copy what I do. Just take the things that you think are very helpful and try them out. And then you take something else from someone else, or you take something from someone else. Then you take also a little bit more from someone else. And you just try to pick the things from everyone and not idolize someone too much. So what is it for you that are the practical steps you're taking, that you're trying out, that you found helpful? And also, what is something in the past that you think is overrated that you might have tried?
So, so many questions at once. First of all, the diary, actually I got inspired by you, because you said it on a lot of things. Did you write some stuff down?
I mean, like, this Klarheit book was an absolute game changer for me. I'm using it every day, like just writing stuff down, task, reviewing stuff. It's just
Exactly. So that's I actually got that from you, and that's not what my mindset coach told me or anything. And even before I started working with my mindset coach, I already tried to implement a lot of things, and I think mostly there's a lot of free content even out there from you and from Pats and some other people for sure. But there was you and Pats, you were the main people I looked at, and I think there was so much like value just gifted to everybody, and I just feel like I was better at just picking up the tips and actually try the things out, and that was how it started. I was just watching videos and actually focused on what the people said. It wasn't like most people do it for entertainment. I actually watched those videos to improve and learn something and get something out. And I think that was the very first step. And then the second step was hiring. Oh, maybe the second step was actually having my first like professional poker coach. As I said, Manuel really helped me in that regard. We talked a lot. I think I got into like a coaching staking deal and snapped downswing like 300 buy-ins. And yeah, he gave me a lot of confidence. I always wanted to drop down in stakes, because when I lose, I try to just kind of drop down a bit so I cannot lose as much anymore and grind it up again. And maybe when I feel a bit more confident, just move up in stakes again. And he always told me, no, shut up. You're like way too good to move down even more. Like you should be playing higher if anything. And he was really pushing me, and mindset wise also pushing me and like helping me a lot. What we started doing there as well was kind of putting like actually scheduling my day, because I think the last time before that that I had a scheduled day was in high school probably, and then I just woke up and like kind of randomly did things. That was the first time when I actually started putting goals out there for every day and yeah, just having a regular schedule basically. And I could really feel from the time when we started doing this, and I kept on doing it myself even after we separated ways, that this was the main thing, just having good routines. I think that's a very big thing on the mindset part. Nowadays, even like I always try to improve my routines in some way. I always try to try new things out, see how they work, and yeah, just try to optimize in that regard. And I think it's super, super beneficial. I could recommend to everybody, apart from poker now, the two things I try to really focus on is actually going outside every day. Very easy, especially if you play online poker. It's so easy to just
Yeah.
sit at home for a week, not see the sunlight for a week straight. So that is one thing. I really go outside every day for a walk. Even now, if it's snowing and raining, there's minus degrees, I still try to go outside every day. And the second thing is just working out.
Yeah.
And really try to work out at least, I think really the bare minimum is every second day. But I think it's so much better to actually work out every day. And my honest opinion on this is I think off days are kind of overrated in that regard. I think there's no problem.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you're not used to working out, and you shouldn't jump from like 0 to 7 times a week.
Yeah.
But if you're used to working out a lot over a very long time span already, I don't think it's really bad to work out 7 times a week. Just working out every day, I think there's not much talking against it.
If you do it smart, I do agree, 100%.
Of course.
You can
You-
work
you
out
have-
every day, but if you do chest every day, of course.
Of course.
But this kind of like you need off days. No, you don't. It depends what you want and where you want to go. If I actually would also recommend to some just every single day, just do something. You can
And
if you
of
do
course,
strength,
like-
you can mix in some cardio one day, right? It's like,
yeah, that's for example exactly how I do it. I mean, if I go to the gym, but I also play basketball. I also do other stuff. But on the days I don't do any other stuff, I try to do upper body once, lower body once, and cardio once. And this is like a 3-day split, and I could do it forever.
Yeah.
That's how I think it's very easy to just keep going forever. Basically, you don't need any off days. And if you really want, you can take a day off. Doesn't matter. You can also take 2 or 3 days off. If you feel more comfortable with working out 3 times a week, go for it. But it's just very important, I think, to work out enough and to go outside.
I think that sunlight part is what most poker players really underestimate, and I did it. And listen, like if you're in your early 20s, your body is a little more forgiving, but when you start approaching the 30s and your mid 30s, you see how lack of certain vitamins or vitamin D, it impacts your sleep, and the lack of sleep, how it impacts your day. And then you just see that, and then you get curious about stuff. This is how it was for me at the beginning. I was like, you know what, fuck, I'm just going to sit in my basement and grind all day long. But at some point you're like, oh, my sleep is not so good, I'm not feeling so well. And then you start researching, you start listening to stuff, and you realize, fucking hell, like lack of vitamin D, lack of sunlight, what it does to your body, especially if you lack it in the morning, and what it does to your cardiac rhythm. It's not necessarily good, right? Again, your body is quite forgiving in your early days or early ages, but at some point you've got to take that more serious. And even if it's winter, there's still some sunlight coming through, even if it's cloudy.
The thing is, in winter, it's probably even more important to go outside every day and get that little bit of sun at least.
Yeah.
So
100%.
also, I think if you cannot get those basics in line, if you cannot actually go to work out at least every second day, and if you can't convince yourself to just go out every day, I think you'll have a very tough time to actually succeed in poker.
Yeah.
I think it's almost impossible to, if this is already too much, to just keep grinding when you hit the downswing, to just keep studying, to just keep going. I think you have to have those basics in line in order to actually have some kind of ceiling in poker. I think your ceiling is just super fucking low if you never, sorry for swearing there, if you cannot even get those basics in mind. I think
This is not a political correct YouTube channel here, so you can say whatever's on your mind.
yeah,
If it doesn't get too extreme, though, I don't give a fuck.
Any problems with YouTube?
Yeah,
Um,
well, then so be it. I'll be
really,
fine.
okay, then.
What did you
Yeah,
do? What did you do before poker?
yeah, I played basketball professionally, semi-professionally.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was actually a very big talent, and I think I messed up quite a bit there. I think I could have gone way further. I mean, also had some injury problems, but even there, I tried to see my fault in the whole thing. And I don't know, I know you played soccer. I don't know if you ever had patellar Spitzensyndrome, so like pain in the
Mm-hmm.
like patella tendon. I remember I started having it, and all the coaches just told me like keep pushing. That's normal. Everybody has some pain, but I'm very pain tolerant, and I just had such strong pain to even mention that I have pain. It was like on a very high level, and they just told me to keep pushing, but it was way past the point where you should keep pushing. If you have some kind of pain, I'm not somebody who's like advising to always like stop once you have the smallest pain. I think I push quite hard anyways, like naturally. I'm just kind of pushing, but it was way past that point, and I just kept pushing because people told me I should keep pushing. I mean, at the time I was like 17, 18 years old. It was very easy to be influenced by the people around you.
Yeah.
And I did that as long as I could, and at some point I just couldn't do it anymore. I think I was like 18, and after the game, it took me like super long time to walk downstairs. I remember I was walking down the stairs, and I felt like a grandpa because it took me like 5 minutes to just like walk where other people it would probably take them like 40 seconds to walk down those stairs. I was in so much pain that I really had to go slow, and I had to focus, and I had to hold on the side of the how do you call it thing? I just had to hold on the side to just be able to walk down. I was in so much pain, and yeah, then at some point I was just like, no, I'm not gonna do this anymore. It's just so much pain, and it's just not worth anything. It's not bringing me anywhere. And this was exactly when I started playing poker as well. I kind of stopped playing basketball, and I felt like I don't know if like all the people who were like professional athletes, there's some void in you after you stop playing, or at least it was inside of me. And I think poker was like pretty perfect to kind of feel that
Compete again.
yeah, compete, to improve, and yeah, that give you some kind of purpose, some
Yeah.
path.
What
I
would you
would
say? What was the year where you really started taking it more serious, professional? Like, was it when you had that 5K bink? Was it then a little bit later when you had your downswing and you started rebuilding? Was it during Corona times where it was really this kind of like full time grinding schedule, studying? Or like, what was the year when you would say
probably Corona. So I
Corona?
think
So like
probably Corona
3 years ago.
4 years ago,
Yeah.
yeah. For sure, Corona was. I think I think from that point on, I'm quite happy with my commitment. I'm quite happy with how I handled things. I'd be kind of proud of my workload and all those things. But I think before that must have been like I've been playing poker for like 4 years before that. But I could have done all this work and assembled all the knowledge in probably in like 6 months because I was just super inefficient, like super immature about all the things. And yeah, but I mean, I'm not mad at myself. I was super young. I was still focused on some other stuff as well, and from Corona onwards, I was sharp. I was just studying almost every day, like really determined. I remember actually this year during EPT Paris, I think it was, I had a roommate that I didn't really know before, and off like the off time when we didn't play any tournaments, I know he was just getting smashed with other people. He was just out getting smashed. He was partying. He was having a good time. I mean, it wasn't like he only got smashed, but he just did some social stuff. He enjoyed himself. And every time he came to the room, I was actually in the room studying. And he was super confused that I would just like play the entire day. Before that, like study 1 hour. And then when I come back from playing, I maybe I go to the gym, come back and just like keep studying. And he was so like confused and impressed at the same time. And he was always telling me that he doesn't even know my name anymore. He's just calling me study. And I was yeah, that's how it really was for the most part of the last like 3-4 years, just being very committed and studying basically all the time that I had. Actually, except for the last few months, where for the first time I had a really good year also online, and I could feel some symptoms of kind of feeling a bit burned out. It was probably a bit too much. I probably didn't take enough like time off. I didn't do enough things that are good for me. I let the exercising part slip as well. One second. So now, like the last like 3-4 months, I took it a bit more easy. Focused on some other stuff. I focused on spending more time with friends and family. And now that I have some financial freedom as well, because prior to that, I just didn't have any financial freedom. And I always had this anxiety of keep playing. Like I was so scared of like taking days or weeks off because I wouldn't make any money during that period of time. But now I feel like, yeah, I can just take a month off and I come back and like, so what? I still, nothing really changed. I'm still in a very good place.
Yeah.
So now my mindset shifted a little bit from this very obsessive improving part of sorry part of my journey to actually going more into the direction of longevity. So my goal is to now like in trying to just being able to perform and enjoying poker for as long as I can. And actually, I wanted to ask you about this because I know you've been playing for a very long time. And what are your biggest tips to actually have a very long career in poker?
I honestly think it's not a bad thing to reach your limits. Otherwise, you're never gonna find out what your limits are. I think it's also an excuse a lot of people use when now they're listening. Look, he's burned out and was not worth it. Well, at least now you know your limits, right? You know what you're capable of. You know what it means scratching there. And you still live, right? You look good. Maybe here and there along the way, okay, you ate a burger too much or you slept an hour too less, but it's not like we're made out of cushion, you know? Our bodies are quite strong, our minds are quite strong. And as long as you're not going too extreme with, let's say, you start taking drugs or whatever, like you don't do anything so stupid where you can have some long-term damages from. Our bodies will be fine. You can use this time to recover, like go to wellness, go to spa, do some fasting, take a week off and focus on exercising, good sleep, you know, we're gonna be fine. So this kind of imbalance, I think, is also quite important because ultimately life is about not always being in balance. You have certain times that are quite extreme. And if you look at a grand scheme of things, then everything comes into balance. If you zoom out, you know, and then these waves become a line and becomes more balanced. But in between, you will have, for some people, it's 6 months. For some people, it's 3 years in your 20s to just sit down and work your ass off. But I can tell you that people in their 30s and 40s that I also have as students, they regret. Like I haven't had a single person that I talk to, and I've talked to hundreds. If you consider the boot camps and the chats I have in Discord, it's probably thousands of poker players. I think I do have a decent sample size. I have not met a single person that said, I worked too hard in my 20s. I've not met it. And I think most are bullshitting themselves. So I don't think it's something bad that you went through. I think it's good. You kind of like learn about yourself. And now you have the freedom. Now you have the tools, the financial means to do something with it. And I think it's also a very noble motive to say, I'm going to use this now to reinvest in myself and my health, to take a month off, to not chase that every day of grinding, to fall for my anxiety. That's where the responsibility grows, to be smart with that money. That's the next challenge. Making a lot of money, yeah, it's difficult. But now staying at the top and working for that longevity is a lot harder, because now your fucking ego creeps in. Before that, you were a nobody. You didn't have a money. Yeah, it's just, dude, you don't have anything, sit down and work. If you have a competitive nature, it's easy to sit down. It's easy to grind these. It doesn't come with a lot of effort and hustle. I don't believe you every morning you had to force yourself to work. No, it's just there. The spark is there. The fire is there, right? You want to achieve something. And also on top of that, the anxiety, right? The anxiety kicking in. Dude, you cannot take off on Monday. But now you have a certain responsibility to be smart about it. And there's a big portion of people that fail, that now punt it off because they think, I have all the money, now life is over, knock knock, I'm the end boss, and they lose it all back. Because now staying at the top is a challenge in itself. So my recommendation is to just, spend some time on what you're doing right now to recover, to recharge, and be more mindful about your body and mind as a holistic approach, right? To try to experience more when it comes to trying out things, whether it's mental coaches, whether it's going on trips, meeting people, just to stay sharp, to get input, to surround yourself with people that will kick your ass when they see that you're slipping, with good inspiration. And you will also meet people now that, they are just trying to be near you because you made a lot of money. That's going to be a new challenge. Like, oh, yeah, this is a great project. You should invest in here. You should look into this. Like, suddenly some people will enter your life and you think, wow, it's so cool. You have to be very, very sharp when it comes to that as well.
So I had a friend earlier to that. We were talking a lot about crypto. And for some reason, he always tried to convince me to buy some shit coins. But I don't know why. But he always tried to get me to buy myself some shit coins. For no reason, I always told him, bro, chill. I don't want to buy those coins. You can send me the white paper, but I'm not gonna read it, and I'm not gonna buy this thing. And the first thing he texted me after I won the tournament was like, now you have 2K to invest in this and this. Bro, leave me alone with this. I just don't want to hear about it. And also what you said about staying on top. The good thing is I do not have the feeling that I'm anywhere near to the top. There's so much more to improve on and so much space towards the top. So
it's easier for someone like you because you went through the process, what it means working up your way, and with basketball, having an injury, you have experienced how fast it can happen that a career is over. And it stays within. And I can speak for myself. I went just with soccer through exactly the same process. And I see it from others, whether they had a gaming career. If you once had a competitive career in something and it's over, either because you're too bad and you're not part of the team anymore and you're out, whether it's an injury, whether the game is not prosperous anymore, it's talk about gaming and esports and the career is over. Usually people learn through pain and suffering. And if you have a bit of IQ and emotional intelligence more and self-awareness, and now you rebuild again in a different game, poker, and you slowly get your approach to the top. I mean, to be honest, what you have achieved, you're very close on the way there. You will become way more protective of it, and you try really everything in your power to... Let's face the truth. I can only speak for myself. I was had injuries, but honestly, I would say it's just an excuse, because if I would have worked harder, trained harder, and took care of myself better, I would have probably not had those injuries in the first place, right? But it was more important to go and horse around somewhere. So my body was not in a shape to take all that daily daily training, match days on the weekends, traveling, and then a foul here, I had potato legs, and then of course something breaks, I mean, right? And then say, I had injuries. Well, I could have maybe done some stretching and some mobility exercises and had much stronger muscles and bones. So yeah, might have not been my fault, but I also didn't give it 110%. So
I mean, that's very often the case, that like you did some mistakes also in poker with downswings, for example. It's you didn't play your best, and then also like you're a little bit unlucky, and those two things go hand in hand, and then like something terrible happens.
Yeah.
And this is like, I think this is everywhere. It's mostly, of course, some bad luck, but you shouldn't really focus on that because you cannot influence it anyways.
Yeah.
But there's always a pretty big part actually that you can influence,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
that probably you messed up if something goes wrong.
Yeah. 100%.
In 99% of cases. And I mean, there's some cases where it probably isn't the case, where it was straight bad luck, but I think it's actually so rare that this happens that you should just totally neglect those parts. And as I said, you cannot like change that anyways if it's just straight bad luck. Like you cannot influence it anyways, and really just focus on the things that you can actually control. And I think I always did a pretty good job of that, and I had really good help as well from some poker friends
Yeah.
that really mentored me, that were like a step or two ahead of me, and could just like support me really
Yeah.
really well. I'm
I
very
think
very grateful for that.
I think this is a good point you mentioned, like finding someone that is ahead, one step or two steps ahead. You know, it's like if you now start your career, don't take Daniel Negreanu as I mean, you can look up to him, but dude, this guy is like a million steps ahead of you. He has completely other struggles, and where you want to go today, who you want to become. Let's say your goal is now from working at McDonald's and you want to build a little bit of side income in poker. Where maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, whenever he started, he had the same dream as a kid to say, I'm at college or university. I don't know exactly his background, but whatever, you get the point. And he said, hey, I want to make some money with poker, right? Exactly where you want to become, or who you want to become, or what you want to achieve. He had completely different struggles 30 years ago where you want to become. So you want to find someone that you can learn from with social media and jobs and university college. Times have changed. And it's so much more helpful to find someone. It doesn't need to be an Uber crusher who makes $1,000 or $2,000 a month. How did you do it? What were your steps? What were your obstacles? Your pain, right? He likely overcame it this year, last year. It's more recent. It's more practical. And he can give you some real life good advice.
People are so generous with
At 100%, yeah.
If you just like go on the forums and you write people, most of the time somebody will text back, and most of the time actually somebody will help you.
Well, don't be a piece of shit. Let's put it this way. Some people are just, people help. Hey Ben, can you rate me this hand? No, of course not. Like, why would I? Right? So it's also show a bit of empathy and respect.
But to that regard, of course you should try to put some kind of value for that person as well. So either you have some coach and you pay the money. That's obviously how you could get it. But
let's say, wait, listen. Imagine it doesn't even need to be providing value. Like, imagine I'm like some NL2 cent pleb and I'm reaching out to you and said, hey, you won the championship and I'm looking up to you, man. Great achievement. And not just necessarily sucking dick, but more from terms of, hey, I've seen you have been a basketball player and you went through these struggles. Like, how did you overcome this? How did you overcome this? It's just like mentioning if one or two things. It shows that you've really put in some effort.
Yeah.
So you see that your time that you give back is worth something.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
But that is almost some kind of value that the other person like feels good about the message. And like
yeah,
you
100%.
at least you offer some like honesty and like some positive energy.
Yeah.
I almost count that as some value.
Yeah.
What I did, I mean, was always already a few years back, but what I did very often for better players that I was friends with, I just ran sims and I asked them if they want to take a look at the sims with me together. And then I put in the work for the sims, but also I got so much more out of the sims because I got to actually talk about the Sims with players that were just like a few steps ahead of me. And I think those kind of things are really important if you want to keep it going long term. That
Yeah.
you just like offer them to help them in any kind of way. I mean, now again changed with GTO Wizard that you have to run a lot less sims, but still with HSC you can run endless ICM sims
Yeah.
and talk to better players about them. And for example, if somebody offered me this, he tells me, bro, send me your hands. I'm gonna run the sims, and then every week we're gonna talk about the sims, and you're gonna look at the sims and tell me what you think about the sims. And it's almost like he gets coached by me, but also it's super nice for me because I don't have to run those sims. So I think this is I hope I don't get like 100 messages now that everybody wants to run sims for me, but I think this is a really good way in general to just get in touch with better poker players and get in some good communities if you just show that you're willing to put in the work
Yeah.
and provide some kind of value.
It doesn't even need to go that far. I mean, we have a Discord. You can even go there, just be a nice, kind, supportive person, and you would get amazing feedback. You post hands, and you will progress from there. So there's no excuse. But when it comes to reaching out to someone individually, like you, like me, or any other poker coach, or person that you look up to, the number one reason why someone might, if they have time, sometimes I just don't have the time, it's like bad luck, it happens. But if I happen to have time and someone reaches out to me and asks me, hey Ben, I struggle in the early game, can you give me a tip? I say, dude, I literally recorded probably 20 to 30 hours of content, early game content for the Tournament Masterclass. Do you want me now to write a fucking book for you what your struggles might be in the early game? So this is just someone who's looking, just by writing this sentence, and this is not meant to be offensive or whatever. I'm just being realistic and honest because I want this person to win. I usually tell them, hey, ask better questions and specific questions. I cannot help you. I cannot give you advice. But it just shows me you're looking for a quick fix. You look for a magic pill. You don't have the mindset. As you mentioned earlier, poker is so much about mindset, having the right understanding of the game. And you're not there yet because otherwise you wouldn't ask such question. And
I think that's what actually like drives a lot of people towards poker is that they think it's not hard work. It's a lot
yeah,
of fun.
100%, of course. Yeah.
On Instagram, like poker players like winning a lot of money, being on parties, like having this super nice lifestyle. Nobody like would post on Instagram, or like not a lot
Yeah.
of people would like show all the grind, show all the bad things. Like nobody would like show them when they're sad about like a downswing, when they feel down. Like nobody's gonna post that on Instagram. So
Yeah.
they have like a completely twisted perception of what it is like to be a poker pro
Yeah.
and what it is like to improve, and nothing's gonna like nothing, no way is going around like actually putting in the time and putting in the work. And I
Yeah.
think that's what they really often try to do, just like have it easy,
Yeah.
text somewhere, like get the quick fix for everything.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day they just spend on Instagram and watch some stupid photos and videos and
Yeah.
just like completely wasted time. But what they should really do is just like obviously work on the game and try to improve and think about those things. But yeah, as I said, I think especially a lot of people that try to or just got into it, I think they have a very like twisted perception of
Yeah.
what it's actually like to become a poker pro.
I think what most people don't understand is, hey, I am there now spending 2, 5, or 10, 15 minutes of my time trying to help you. So what I want to see is make it easy for me. Make it easy for me to understand you and your problems. I don't understand your problem if you ask me for early game advice or final table advice. Right? How much time do you have to start? If you tell me, hey, I'm a full-time poker pro and I struggle in the early game, I'm like, dude, you should probably reconsider being a full-time pro in the first place, because that's probably one of the easiest parts to play, right? So I have a bit of context, but more context. This is 3-bet pots, single race pots. Like, what are your pain points? What are your thoughts? What are your struggles? And then I might read through 4 or 5 sentences, but within a minute, I have much better context. And I know exactly, or better, let's say, put it this way, better. And I also appreciate, hey, he has put in some effort to make it easier for me to answer so I can help you better, return that favor, and give you real value instead of some generic bullshit. I made countless YouTube videos, 3 top tips for early game. Watch them. See for yourself it's applicable, right? So this is just, I don't even necessarily think you need to provide value and come and, hey, Ben, can I do this for you? Right? It's just, this is where you feel like a bit of a connection with a stranger. You know, it's like, do you like go jogging? Do you like to go run sometimes outside?
I hate running.
But did you do it? Do you sometimes?
Yeah, I'd still do it sometimes.
Do you sometimes have this moment when there's another runner passing by and you just quickly look at each other and you just have this moment of like, I respect you, buddy, being outside in the rain. You know, like I sometimes have this and I look at them and they look back and you just have this like, this short nod, you know, it's like, I respect you, you respect me for being outside here. Maybe it rains, maybe it's cold, and you know, we're grinding. We're out battling here. I don't know, man. Maybe that's a fucking weird thought, but I really like, I sometimes feel this connection when I feel someone is really serious about something.
Yeah,
and
of course.
If I don't have it, like, sorry, man, I can't
I understand.
or don't want to waste my time.
I feel quite bad for you because I remember it must have been like, I'm not sure if it was 2020 or 21. I think you did some school preparation seminar or something. Or was it W Cooper? I don't quite remember exactly. But I felt so sorry for the questions that you received in that call. Because, I mean,
It's part of the job. It's part of the job.
Understood, like, obviously I wasn't super good at the time, but I understood poker a lot better than most of the people in the call, I would say. And there was just the most random questions that I could possibly imagine. And I was just sitting there like, what the fuck? This actually, I think this question almost destroyed some part of the seminar, because I think 90% of the people would just sit there and think, what the fuck is this question? Like, nobody, I think you didn't understand the question. Nobody else understood the question. And the person asking the question just didn't even reply to anything that you said after. It was very entertaining, actually.
And some people might think, oh, but Ben, they're not experienced. No, it's the most lame fucking excuse, because I know for myself things that I went to, let's say business, marketing, sales, legal stuff, accounting, where some of them I still have no fucking clue. Some of that I got better and have more experience. I know exactly what it means being absolutely clueless, but I still ask 10 times better questions. So it's not about being experienced in something. It just requires putting in some effort and thought into it. Because sometimes in our Discord, when someone's sharing, but I don't have any experience, dude, it's just an excuse. You're just fucking lazy. And that's okay. But then don't expect great results or great feedback. It's just, that's how it works. It's that easy.
I mean, how I think about it, maybe in the moment, sometimes you might have some kind of brain fart with those questions, because that's really how it felt like. But at least I wouldn't put out, like, if I think about something, I wouldn't just immediately put out a question. I would think about the question first, and then maybe after a few minutes when I thought about the question, then ask the question, especially if it's a big call and like there's hundreds of people in it. Yeah, whatever. I still remember this time, and it was quite funny to watch, because I was just mind blown by this question.
And even I have to add though, because some people are on their journey, maybe they're very young. Here's a bit of a caveat. I remember when I was 17, 18, 19, I was such a piece of, I'm probably still very often a piece of shit. And like sometimes people don't even have that experience to, you know, you go to school and you go through the entire system and it's just about like you don't even really learn it. So I have to say though, I mean, to be honest, if you're around for 10 years and you keep asking questions and you never really get the answers you're looking for and you keep doing it, sorry, then I cannot help you. But if you're early on in your career and you're quite young and maybe you're a bit naive, I do understand it. And I do have respect a lot for that, to just expose yourself and be like, I don't really know what to ask, but you know what? I have to start somewhere. All right, got to take the heat and at least learn from it. Because I did have really like a lot of students, like 2 years later, they messaged me, Ben, you kicking my ass 2 years ago, has really opened my eyes. And this is what all matters to me. There are for sure 8 out of 10 people that think, what a dick. It's like, okay, cool. But the whole purpose of this, it gives me all the energy and passion for this whole project, is that 2 or 3 years later, that someone who gets into poker and maybe also put his fingers on something on Raise Your Edge, whether it's YouTube or course, and makes a living from poker and says, hey, Raise Your Edge had an impact, job done. If it comes with a price that 9 out of 10 people feel offended, all right, I'm happy to pay the price.
What I also don't understand there is if 9 out of 10 people feel offended. I mean, if they watch one of your videos and they feel offended and they just say, fuck it, I'm not gonna watch any more videos of him, fine. But I feel like very often what they do is they watch all of your videos and just like keep commenting every time that they feel offended.
If you don't have any haters, you do something wrong.
It's very funny to me how those haters work and how.
But you have it in every sport. I mean, if you look football, right? Everyone thinks. Pretty sure you had it in basketball, where this dude has no fucking clue and he comments on everything, right? Whether it's a fan or in the family, you just think yourself, oh my god, it's normal. It's part of the job.
Yeah, it's very normal. Yeah. And actually, that was one of the most positive things from the big ship. Was I felt like there was almost no hate towards me. There was really a lot of super nice texts, and everybody was super nice. I feel like everybody really was super happy about it. And I don't know if you watched it, but Nils Pudel, he was also on the final table, and he's a friend of mine. And I think he got 5th or 6th, I'm not quite sure. But he was actually super happy when I won it. And he was like so supporting and so happy after. And I know if I would have gotten 6th, I probably would have been miserable and way worse of a friend in that spot. And everybody was super supportive, super nice, and I really appreciate, especially from Niers, I really appreciate like the warm heart and like, all the support. It was really really nice, and I'm pretty sure there's some people hating on me, thinking I didn't deserve it, and probably like somehow I didn't. It's like huge variance. I was very lucky to bink one of the biggest binds I've ever played, and one of the biggest fields in this bind range that I ever played, of course.
Yeah.
And of course there's a lot of luck involved. Like this is MTT poker. Like it's like so much luck in one bink. It's not about this one bink, of course. Yeah, but this is something I'm very fortunate and very thankful for. That.
What most don't understand, even if, let's say, some viewers are watching or you still have this mindset chasing this one bink, if I'm 100% certain with your run, if you just take the same run of cards and take it to the beginner, he would have never won, right? So this is what most don't understand. You wouldn't have gotten the same amount of value from your value hands. You wouldn't have made such good folds, such good calls. It's just there's still so much luck involved, but also so much skill that you wouldn't have won it. You probably would have not made the money. That's what most don't understand.
I actually talked to a friend about this poker run, and I told him, actually, I think there were at least 4 players on the final table that ran way hotter than I did. That I think I made up with so much skill in that thing that I could kind of run a bit cold and still just like keep my head above water, and then once I had the hot run, actually strike.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of players would have either busted before or, as you said, like not gotten the value that I did.
Yeah.
And I really think that like, especially like the final 3, I think both of the other players actually in this tournament as a whole, they ran like way harder than I did. Not saying that they are bad, but I think, as you said, it's not all luck.
Yeah.
But it's of course luck that it's on this stage at this time in this tournament. That obviously was quite lucky. But also this year, online and live, I feel like I ran very very hot, but also obviously improved a lot. I became pretty good in poker. I think I made so many jumps in the last 1-2 years, and it cannot really be like a coincidence that I just like chip left, right, like have super, like so many deep runs. It's just, of course, like a few tournaments, that's luck. But if you just like consistently have very good results, it's not luck anymore. And
Yeah, it's the most dangerous combination, like luck and skill. Then especially also progress improvement. When you also get good cards, it's just
and then good game selection
yeah.
over.
One last question to wrap it up is I asked earlier when you start your career. So now we have it of context. Let's say 3-4 years where you are a professional. What was more like strategically something where you would say understanding this and having this breakthrough, or something, oh, I did this wrong, I improved on this? Where did you see the biggest improvement? Wherever. Like just the number one thing, maybe if it's two things where once I started implementing this and becoming more aware of it, I really started seeing significant results or improvement.
It must have been actually pretty much like this year for the first time that I started trusting my intuition way more. I think I did a lot of like GTO study. I think the last 6 months or so, I didn't really put in too much thought about any like theory, to be honest. Just kind of worked on my intuition, my sizing tells, like, and I think a lot of that actually comes from a strong theory background.
Yeah.
Strong for my binds. Obviously, there's 100 players that are way better than I am in theory. But like, I think the combination was just like some very solid theory background, and then like really trusting my intuition as well. And I think that really started this year where I started attacking some sizings, where I started attacking some spots, where I started like kind of exploiting a lot more.
Yeah.
And also before that, maybe I adjusted a little bit, but I was like, I think a lot of players are very like blocker brainwashed.
Yeah.
And they think like, oh yeah, I have this and that blocker, unblocker, whatever bullshit. And I just emphasized it way too much. What hand I have, what blockers I have, when in reality, like either they overbluff or underbluff,
Yeah.
or overcall or undercall or underfold. So you should basically just like either always call or never call, or always bluff or never bluff.
Yeah.
And I think like having the guts and this confidence, I think that was like the biggest jump.
Yeah.
Like this confidence in my abilities to actually just go super out of line in different spots. And I think that actually made me, I mean, this tournament, you could see it also on the final table bubble. I made a pretty ridiculous hero call, also with Jack 8 actually.
Okay.
And I think that was the biggest jump, that I wasn't like afraid to make mistakes and afraid to look silly or like do something where like it kind of doesn't make any sense theoretically, but you just kind of know, you just kind of feel that it's right or wrong, whatever. And just really going with my instincts and knowledge from like all the experience I have.
Yeah.
I think that was really the biggest jump. That's what took me from being like a slight winner, whatever. Like it's so tough to say in MTTs, because the sample obviously isn't big enough.
Yeah.
But that's what took me from being kind of like a okay player to having this year, along with like running really, really hot, of course.
Great, happy to hear that. That's only very few can go through that process, especially if you're very theory oriented and you have it learned in a very more like GTO way. That's why my experience, the ones that learn it in a bit more an exploitative way, adding theory on top of it, have it a lot easier to break through in poker. You can still push it too far in both directions, having a good mix, having a solid theory base, and then from that, you just go through those exploits and learning where people over bluffing. But of course, that also requires studying and I think connecting with others, getting feedback. Man, Max, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. It was a fantastic piece of content, especially since I think you are someone that can reflect very well you started poker recently, you went through the process, you've won a big tournament. A lot of people maybe who want something can learn from your early failures as well. Some of you who might or are about to start and want to take the next step or are stuck in this GTO brainwashed low stakes break-even grinding can also take some inspiration. That's why I was really happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
One more thing that I want to say as well. A very big part of my success is also my girlfriend, actually. We've been together for like, I think 5.5 years now. And getting her perspective on all the things and always being able to zoom out and never feeling too isolated, because poker is obviously a very isolating and lonely profession. I think that really helped me a lot, and like her help in this regard and like the stability that she provided for me was so beneficial and so happy, and I really want to thank her for this as much as I want to thank myself, and as much as I want to thank the poker gods. I really want to thank her because she was
having a great supportive partner is half of the
it's a big step.
Congrats on that.
Enough,
on the life score.
In the beginning, when we started dating, I was dead broke. I didn't have any money. I think even in order for us to go to the movies, he actually like paid for me to get in, and I think it gives me even more confidence in this relationship that I didn't have any money, I didn't have anything at the time, and we just kind of grew together, and I think this really helped me a lot, mindset wise and with everything.
You found the real dime there. Congratulations.
It's crazy how amazing she is, actually.
Happy to hear that. Also, if she watches that part, she's probably going to be very happy about that.
Yeah, I hope so. No, but really, I always tell her all the time that she deserves half of the bracelet at least. So if I win a second one, I'll give her one. Because she really deserves it.
That sounds very, very kind of you. So Max, thanks again. And stay on track. I think we're going to hear more from you. And I think also the community says thank you for sharing your insights, your experience, and hopefully some of you guys will find some inspiration. Max,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.